Honey, I have something to tell you, Ed said as he hugged his wife. You must have a surprise for me, Victoria replied in an ingratiating voice, expecting a message about another gift or a trip. Well, Ed hesitated, not knowing what to say, afraid of his wife's reaction. You see, it's a surprise, of course, but not the kind of surprise I usually give you. It's just that my parents are coming over in 3 days with Linda. She's going to college, and they want to see New York. They won't be here long, just a week. Ed didn't have time to finish. What? The woman shouted. She jumped up from the bed like a scalded woman and started pacing the room. No, you're kidding me, she said indignantly. She even had red spots on her face from anger. I have been sitting here for a whole year without a break, breathing this dirt and dust. It's been so long since we left. And instead of at least taking me to Thailand, you're dragging your parents here, and with that girl. Don't talk about my family like that. Her husband got angry. We'll go wherever you want, but when I get a vacation. In case you haven't forgotten, money doesn't just fall out of the sky. You're the one who left the office, although I never forbade you to work, and now you're complaining about boredom. When my relatives come to visit, you give them a proper welcome. You are a good hostess, aren't you? Now, don't be angry. Ed kissed Victoria on the cheek, but she pulled away sharply. I don't want to, and I won't clean up after your in-laws. And don't ask me to, the woman told her husband. Honey, you don't have to clean anything. Just do for them what you do for me every day, Ed kept urging his wife. They haven't visited us in 3 years, and they wouldn't have come if Linda hadn't gone off to college, Ed said patiently. And you know, I'm tired of cooking and cleaning for us here, the young woman said with a tight lip of resentment. How many times have I asked you to hire us a housekeeper, and you keep refusing? Look at my nails. They don't even have a proper manicure because of all the cooking. Ed had just become a top manager in a large company a year ago and had bought an apartment. He didn't have the money to pay for a housekeeper right now. Victoria, on the other hand, had not worked since the day they were married, believing that her husband's main asset was his wallet. She was preoccupied with herself and buying expensive things, but from such a life she gradually fell into depression, and her poor husband's nerves broke. I'm tired of trying to convince you, her husband said sternly. After all, I've been fulfilling every one of your wishes for 3 years. I hope you can fulfill at least one of mine. With that, the man left. Victoria hated to fight with her husband. She could lose everything. But to meet these relatives from the province, to bring them tea, to clear the table, it was beyond her strength. The woman shuddered at the thought. She took her husband's card and went to the shopping mall so that she wouldn't leave anything on it, in order to relieve her stress and take revenge on her husband. The evening promised to be uneventful while Victoria was shopping. Her husband returned home. I didn't cook. I didn't have time, she said carelessly. Honey, come on. I'm sorry. I was rude to you, wasn't I? It won't happen again. It's just that my parents really need to get here. Here's a little present for putting up with them, Ed said affectionately, handing his wife a small velvet box containing another pair of gold earrings. He always did that when Victoria needed to be persuaded to do something, and she was used to it. Well? Okay, you're forgiven," she purred with a wry and flirtatious smile as she looked at the new piece of jewelry. The day of the relatives' coming arrived. "Mom, Dad, get comfy," Eugene said as his parents entered the apartment. "Hi, Linda." The skinny girl hung around her older brother's neck. "Ed, we finally see each other. You've forgotten me. You don't come to visit. You don't call much. You've been busy," Linda joked. "No, Linda, I haven't forgotten. I remember everyone, but it's long past time to go to work. I'll be there in the evening. Kisses to everyone." Ed left. "Sit down for lunch," Victoria said dryly. "But I want to warn you right away, so no one takes offense. I rarely cook, and won't be doing it again anytime soon. I'm afraid I don't have the French fries and fried chicken wings you like. We're just eating healthy food." It gave me a last-minute heads-up about the guests. "You'll have to eat in the cafeteria from now on. There are 2 spare rooms in the apartment, so make yourselves comfortable. And please take your things there immediately. And you, Linda, I warn you not to use my makeup." "What a welcome Victoria has given us," Ed's mother said to her husband. "I don't want to see New York anymore." Each day, while Ed worked, Victoria did her own thing. The husband's parents tried to spend every day walking around the city and sightseeing to avoid being seen by their hysterical daughter-in-law, and 17-year-old Linda was busy getting into college. But as soon as either of them confronted her relative, she immediately started clinging to everything. Victoria was annoyed that provincial tatter rags hung in the common hallway, that the bathroom was dirty after one of the guests had washed his hands there. But it was Linda who got the worst of it. Victoria herself didn't understand why she couldn't stand the skinny girl who had just graduated from high school. It was probably because Victoria had been like that 6 years before she met Ed. She had come from a small town in Utah, lived in a dormitory, and had almost no money. But marrying a successful man, who had graduated from a prestigious college, had turned her life upside down. She now considered herself an important lady, and didn't want to see people who looked like her in the past. Once, when Linda was getting ready for college, Victoria thought she had used her perfume. "Come here," she shouted at her sister-in-law. "Did I warn you not to touch my makeup?" "Really, Victoria?" Linda marveled. "I never thought of taking anything from you." "Don't lie," Victoria screamed hysterically. "I can smell my perfume. You took it and sprayed it on yourself." No, come on, Victoria. Calm down. It's my perfume." "I brought it from home," Linda protested. "How could you bring such expensive perfume from your province?" "You only use provincial cheapness because you are like that." Victoria could not be stopped. The subject of poverty and country life was very painful for her. Linda was not a shy girl. She approached Victoria, looked her in the eye, and answered her harshly. "Stop calling me names. You're from Utah yourself, in case you haven't forgotten. I never take other people's things because my parents didn't teach me to steal. But who raised you to be such a burr, I don't know." "Oh, you're just—" Victoria was about to scratch the girl's hair, but Ed came home. He entered and asked what the scandal was about. "Yes, your sister stole my perfume," the wife told her husband. "I don't even know what they look like or where they are," Linda apologized. "And your wife is just crazy. She jumped on me and almost beat me up because she imagined something. Okay, I don't want to get involved in any more of these women's squabbles. Victoria, calm down. I came home from work and I'm tired. I want to rest. When is this all going to end? Said Ed in despair. He was really tired of it all. When is your family going to get out of here? His wife shouted. A day later, as Ed's entire family was leaving, and he was saying goodbye to his relatives, his mother told him so that Victoria could hear, I don't know why you married her, but it's not going to end well. Victoria wanted to run after her mother-in-law and say some nasty things to her, but the door slammed shut behind her husband's relatives. The woman became hysterical again. No, look. I invited them into my home, cooked for them, cleaned for them, and Ed, this can't go on. I forbid you to communicate with your parents and sister. You're out of line, her husband replied stiffly. First of all, I'm an independent adult. You can't tell me what to do. Second, I am my parents' son. I am obligated to communicate with them, to help them. Honey, but they just don't love me, Victoria said affectionately, realizing that she could lose everything. Communicate with whomever you want, help whomever you want, but please make sure I never see them again. For several months, the couple lived in peace. Ed only called his parents when Victoria couldn't hear. He didn't want to fight with his wife. His sister Linda changed her mind about going to college in New York because the reception Victoria gave her shocked the girl. On his mother's birthday, Ed wanted to congratulate her and send her a gift. The phone conversation about it was overheard by Victoria. How could you buy your mother such an expensive gift? What about our family? Started resenting his wife. Victoria, well, actually, it's Mom's anniversary, and as a son, I'm just obligated to give her a nice gift. There is nothing wrong with it. I will still earn. We have enough for everything. After all, we do not have children yet. By the way, when will you have children in mind? That's not what I'm talking about. Victoria shouted angrily. If you're going to give everything you earn to your relatives, what children can we even talk about? It's not them you're going to feed, it's your provincials. That's too much, Ed replied, thinking at the same time about what was happening. Let me tell you, Linda is not studying at the best college because of you. She didn't want to come here a second time. Well, that's right. That's how it is. The woman raged. This place isn't supposed to welcome rednecks with open arms. Look at you. You're almost the CEO of a big company, and you're being ceremonious with some hick who's just trying to get money out of you. Victoria, Ed's patience was running out. Can't you forget where you came from? Well, you have settled your life, thanks to me, but why my sister has no right to study here, to get a job, to get married? Why is she worse than you? Victoria again realized she'd said too much. She reached out to hug her husband, but he pulled away. You are out of line. Think about your behavior. Besides, I'm beginning to doubt that you married me for love, Ed said and left for work. Victoria was very angry. In her mind, her mother-in-law had turned her son against his wife. Her anger was choking her. So she decided to take it out on her mother-in-law. Victoria dialed her husband's mother's number. She answered the call, thinking that her daughter-in-law was calling to congratulate her. Listen to me, Elizabeth, Victoria said into the phone. I don't know what you've done to your son's head. Ed doesn't want to talk to me now, and he doesn't want to live. He sends you presents. So I wish you the worst birthday ever, the worst day of your life. That you don't sleep well, that you don't live well, that you have nothing but problems. Do you hear me? Only problems. As she said this, Victoria squeezed the phone so hard in her hand that it almost broke. Elizabeth had always been reserved, but it was her anniversary. How could her daughter-in-law do such a thing? The woman cried, said nothing to her daughter-in-law, and hung up the phone, and after she calmed down a bit, she called her son back and told him the whole truth. When Ed got home, he didn't mince words with his wife. Victoria, he said without preamble, I know you ruined my mother's birthday. Her blood pressure got really high after talking to you. Everything you've done lately has hurt me and my relatives. There are no feelings between us anymore. You're so angry and uncaring. I don't know if I should continue to live with you. But honey, I'm sorry. I overreacted, Victoria replied, realizing that she was really ruining things for herself. Maybe so, her husband told her dryly. But I can't make it up to you that easily and quickly. Listen to what I'm going to tell you. From now on you're going to stay in the guest room, because I don't feel like sleeping in the same bed with you. You don't have to cook or clean for me anymore. You're not a maid. I won't hire a housekeeper. I'll eat at a cafe, and I can clean my room myself. It's not hard for me. I don't think it's a shame. You won't live with me as a wife, but as a neighbor. If I want to come back to you, I'll tell you myself. But if I don't, I'm sorry, and we'll do the proper paperwork and part ways. That's it. Don't come near me. Victoria was horrified. She knew she'd spoiled it for herself. In truth, deep down she loved Ed. It was just that her love for the good life was much stronger. When the wife realized what she had done, she tried to make things right. She faithfully arranged romantic dinners for her husband, did everything around the house, changed her hair and outfits to attract his attention, tried to ingratiate herself with him in every possible way, bought him gifts herself. But it was as if something clicked in Ed's head. He saw that his wife was trying to correct herself, but for some reason he had no desire to return. They lived as neighbors for 6 months, and then a new employee joined Ed's company. Her name was Christine. The young woman had recently separated from her husband and was in a difficult situation. She had to live in a rented apartment and deny herself everything, but she was not discouraged and was very easy to communicate with. Ed liked the independence of his new acquaintance, her desire to do everything herself and not depend on anyone. In time, without realizing what was happening, the man began to court her. They spent a lot of time together, and Christine soon admitted that she liked Ed, but she would never go out with a married man. He thought for a long time and finally made up his mind, took Christina by the hand, and drove her home to change his life. I don't want to hurt you, Victoria, he said to his wife, who froze with a glass in her hands and looked at the couple. I'm not going to leave you out on the street. But please bear with me. Get to know each other. This is Christina. I love her and want to marry her, and you and I are officially separated. And you don't have to attack her like you did Linda. It won't help. Nothing is going to change. A shocked Victoria dropped the glass. It shattered, as did her marriage. "How could you do this to me?" "You said you'd come back to me," she whispered. "I said it was possible," Ed replied. "But I didn't know I'd meet a woman who was willing to do anything for me unselfishly."